Back in the summer, I collected and sown some cyclamen seed from the garden. Let's see how they're getting on. Just a quick recap. Here you can see me inspecting the plants, and here you can see a nice plump open seed pod. And this is the seed that we took around. I had to soak it for 48 hours before I sowed it. But if you want to see the exact process from start to finish, then watch video 69. There's a direct link to it pasted to the wall at the end of this video. After soaking, the seeds were sown, and it took place on July the 31st. And you can see now we're up to the 17th of September, and you can see the progress they've made, and they're just beginning to germinate. The seed trays themselves have been left somewhere in the shade in the open until the really bad weather of October came around. Then I put them in a small frame. And the one thing I did notice was the seed that had been soaked for 48 hours germinated far better than the seed that had been soaked for 24 hours. And you can see this. The 48 hours is on the right and the 24 hours are on the left. We now move into the potting shed, and I'm going to just start to prick out a couple just as an example. And here's a pot that I sowed at exactly the same time as I did the trays. One of the things you have to do when you prick them out is to really make sure that you keep as much of the root system as intact as possible. And you have to sort of really dig quite deeply. So loosen them from the one side, because they've got very, very fragile roots. So just, and you can feel it there, there's resistance. And worth pointing out at this stage, always hold by the first leaf, seed leaf, to prevent crushing the stem, otherwise it will rot. And you have to go down way underneath the root system and lift it up. And there we can see it coming out. We lay it down, and as I say, you can hardly see any noticeable growth in it there. But picking it up by the leaf again, you can just see the small swelling at the bottom of the stem. And that's the culm, or culmlet if you want to call it that will develop into the, eventually, something that could be 3 or 4 inches across. I use seed trays or individual pots. I'm slowly going over to recycling foil, but for this one I will pot them singly into a pot. I used to use jiffy pots at one time, but I found that it's easier to do them with these, because sometimes you get the netting on the bags and the netting gets in the ground, and it's a bit of a problem. So as I say, I'm quite happy to put them into small pots. So once again, swapping dibbers, using the pencil this time. Make the hole, but the one thing that you must ensure that the hole is big enough to take the roots. Don't push them in, force them in, fold them up. Make the hole bigger if you want. And there we are. That should be plenty there. And it just drops in. Give it a few little sort of shakes just to loosen things, and just gently put the soil back. Using your fingers. Always use your fingers, never your thumbs. And at this stage, I'm not worried about watering. The compost is quite moist. So all you need to do is settle that little bulb, or culmlet I should say, right on the very surface of the compost, because that's where it will grow. And the next stage with this would be to stand it in a saucer of water just to dampen the compost, and then I would cover the surface of the compost with a little bit of grit, just to sort of protect the plant during the winter time and to prevent any unwanted slugs creeping across the top. There won't be many active in the winter time. And there you can see it sitting there ready to go. And they're wonderful things. And this is the tray that I did, exactly the same method. And now we move back into the outside garden, and you also find that where you let plants run to seed, you will get seed sown. And I increase my groups by just sort of allowing them to grow, and here you can see the various stages. They get bigger and bigger as they go on. And eventually, around year 4 into year 5, they begin flowering, and after that, then they more or less settle down and established. And you can see here 2 self-sown plants with some little seedlings in between them. And I can't claim this has been my own garden. This is Llanover House, which is near Abergavenny. Diolch, and thank you for watching. Goodbye for now, but if you would like to see any more, please hit the subscribe and like buttons.